can silently hope that the RNG odds will be ever in our favor, but of course video games aren't always so kind, especially when it comes to the wildly unreliable use of random number generators. While an invisible dice roll, or a visible dice roll if we're comparing the feature to its tabletop origins, might seem sensible as a way of randomizing whether a player's actions were successful, sometimes things tip too far into the unfair category. Adding insult to injury is when we're not only trying to cross off an arbitrary challenge that requires kind RNG, but also obtain a particular trophy. We've all got our own stories about when we clearly pissed off RNGs, but here are 10 especially painful ones. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game trophies made impossible by RNG. Number 10, winning streak, Fishing Planet. Starting off strong with this one, since we went through the word impossible in that title for you, this is an achievement that only 3 people have managed to get on trueachievements.com. Yes, 3. Just 3. Okay, so it might have something to do with the game in question being 2015 simulation game Fishing Planet, which is pretty darn niche to say the least, but this particular achievement is an RNG hellscape. The winning streak requires you to achieve a spot in the top 3 for a competition 10 times in a row, which in a regular AI competition in any other game wouldn't seem so daunting. But in a fishing game where what you haul in is largely a luck of the draw dice roll, there's way too much left up to chance. There's very little you can do to exert skill here, and even if you manage to pull it off 9 whole times, get a bad run on that 10th competition and you're right back where you started. This trophy is an agonizing exercise in dumb luck, and somebody really needs to track down those 3 people who managed to pull it off and just give them a hug. Number 9, super exciting, Phantasy Star Online 2. Sega 2012 free-to-play action RPG Phantasy Star Online 2 might be free, but that doesn't mean its trophies are all a breeze, especially those controlled completely by RNGs, like the super exciting achievement. With 2 exclamation points, which is for your frustration and not for your excitement. As in the case of Fishing Planet, this one sounds pretty innocuous off the bat. To obtain the trophy, you'll have to score a triple 20 on the Trick Darts board that can be purchased for 5,000 fun in the shopping plaza. Fun is a currency you can only get by interacting with other players. You can also buy it with Meseta from the player-to-player shop. In what is a small saving grace, you're also able to get this trophy by playing on the board that other players have already got, and there's a bunch of people online who've luckily shared their code, so you can go buy theirs and use their dartboard. In what is less of a saving grace, the entire minigame is totally based on RNG. There's absolutely no skill here, you just keep clicking the button to throw a dart, watching an animation, and seeing if you got the bullseye. To make matters worse, you can't aim at all, and you only get 1 shot per play, so expect to sit there for multiple hours if you're determined to get this one. Number 8, Competent Negotiator, Persona 5. Persona 5 is such a huge game that it might take you more than 100 hours for a single playthrough if you want to see everything. And this trophy's tricky not because of grinding or because of the skill that it needs, but because the pop rate for it is so low you can easily play this thing end to end and never even see it. The Competent Negotiator trophy can be obtained by successfully rescuing one of your characters after an enemy takes them hostage. This is pretty simple in and of itself, you just agree to the baddie's demands and hand over some yen or call up the Thieves Guild for help. The problem here is actually having one of your buddies get taken hostage in the first place, because this almost never happens. It's only slightly likely when one of your pals has suffered a critical hit or a weakness exploitation and has consequently low HP. But even then, they'll probably just go for another hit. Personally, I've played through Persona 5 and Royal for probably upwards of 300 hours combined, and I've never seen this one, so good luck out there, trophy hunters. Number 7, Beginner's Luck, Path of Exile. This one is another case of dastardly drop rates, but instead of an action popping, you're looking for a unique item. Specifically, a unique item that needs to drop in the Twilight Strand, the very first area in Act 1 of Path of Exile. By unique item, we're talking about a class of drops, so it's pretty darn unlikely you'll get an item that rare that early on in the game. If you haven't played Path of Exile, this is like expecting a legendary to drop during the tutorial. It's technically possible, but it's right on that fence teetering towards completely impossible. This is made even trickier because you can't return to the starting area once you've entered the first town, and you can't manually reset Twilight Strand's enemies. So your best bet is to keep swapping between characters in the selection screen and hoping for the best. This one might take you a few minutes of grinding or a few hours. That said, someone on Reddit recently reported only popping this after 8 years of creating new characters, so it could take you a while. Number 6, Master Magician, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix. You can take your pick here between Master Magician and Master Defender because both trophies ask you to pick up every single weapon belonging to both Donald and Goofy in Kingdom Hearts 3 1.5 Final Mix. That'd be a reasonable ask if there wasn't one weapon on each list that has a wildly cruel drop rate of 0.2%. That drop rate really speaks for itself, and there's nothing that the charming visuals of Kingdom Hearts are going to be able to do to stop you from wanting to tear your hair out trying to get these things to drop, especially because by the time they do drop, they're not going to be any good to you anyway. The specific culprits here are the Defender and Wizard's Relic, which sound all well and good, but are specially designed to mess your crap up if you're a dedicated trophy hunter or a completionist. Number 5, Poker, The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings. If the title of this trophy didn't give away that you're gonna have a bad time with RNG, then let me run you through the specifics. Before they were making you cry with heartbreak at The Witcher 3 or agony over Cyberpunk 2077 glitches, CD Projekt Red had a classic way to hurt the innocent gamers who picked up their 2011 RPG, The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings, and that was good old random number generation. If you've ever played Yahtzee and know the odds of getting Yahtzee, that is 5 of the same dice, then you know the likelihood of that is pretty darn low, and that's what you're gonna need to pull off here. You get 2 rolls of 5 dice, and after the first roll, you can decide which dice, if any, you'd like to re-roll. You could get very lucky and knock this one over in a flash, or you could be at it for a hell of a long time. While you do get 1 re-roll, the chances of pulling this off on your first roll are 1 in 1,296. So, not awesome odds there. There's also the opportunity that your opponent might fold, so you won't be able to turn your 4 of a kind into a 5 of a kind, and that's just a whole other kind of frustrating. Number 4, Cat Scratch Fever, Yakuza 0. If the image of a cat fighting ring immediately conjures up some kind of cruel feline fight club, then you A, think a lot like I do, and B, forgot that Yakuza games love 3 things: slick violence, goofiness, and pretty ladies. This trophy can be won by engaging in a minigame that combines all 3 of those things, which sounds awesome as 3 raw ingredients, but the amount of time you're gonna have to put into this darn thing, you're going to be absolutely not enjoying any of them, because the Cat Scratch Fever trophy is a nightmare. Don't be fooled, there's really no skill to this one. It's glorified scissors, paper, rock. The trophy requires you to win 10 bets on 3-round tournaments, which, when there's little to no rhyme or reason as to who will win and how, is exhausting at best and impossible at worst. Adding insult to tedious injury, ties are resolved with a button-mashing face-off, which the AI can just cheat at, and even seasoned players will tell you all you can do here is choose the fighter Jennifer and hope for the best. Trust me, you've never been this annoyed staring at scantily clad digital ladies. Number 3, the Giant Crown Master, Monster Hunter World. No list about RNG would be complete without a Monster Hunter entry, so I got a nice juicy one for you. The Giant Crown Master trophy requires you to obtain a gold crown from many monsters in your hunting log. In order to get the gold crowns, you'll need to engage in what is just a pure RNG hunt, trying to find the big boy monsters because everything in the game is random. There are a good handful of suggested techniques like picking up all the footprints, deleting irrelevant investigations, and focusing on event quests that should give you a higher chance to obtain crowns, but in reality it's just a crapshoot. There's a strong suggestion you do this one in a group, but I'm not totally sure if that's because it's supposed to make the whole thing faster or if you're just gonna need the emotional support. Number 2, Divided by Death, Hades. There are plenty of wonderful opportunities and emergent stories and gameplay moments that become possible when games have randomly generated maps. This only becomes a problem when you're trophy chasing and really need something specific to appear, but instead every room you wander into is random. Hades is a perfect example of a wonderful game that can be really irritating if you're a trophy hunter, and the Divided by Death trophy is a great example. This trophy requires you to complete the Divided by Death prophecy, which can only be done by having the correct series of conversations, popping the necessary event rooms with the right NPCs, and hoping they further the storyline you're working instead of one of the many other things they might comment on. There's not much you can do to influence what they'll say to you other than to continue to press on through more runs, so it's a good thing you're playing a roguelike. Number 1, Kamurocho Socialite, Judgment. Developer Ryuga Gotoku takes a second spot on this list, but not with a mainline Yakuza game, but rather its 2018 spin-off, Judgment. The game might have taken a path away from the core installments, but there's still painful RNG to be found here that's gonna take your trophy hunting tendencies into nightmare territory, so Yay! In this case, you'll find an issue while going after the Camarogo Socialite achievement, which asks you to complete all of the shop missions. Half of the requirements for this one are extraordinarily simple and involve things like eating at restaurants and playing Virtua Fighter 5. Then there's bloody Puyo Puyo Tetris, a game that sounds as adorable as it is brain-breakingly painful. This, of course, isn't due to raw difficulty, it just runs entirely on RNG. You need to beat every rival in the minigame, and the final two will only begin to show up once you get around 25 wins in a row, which is no small feat. Even them showing up at all is RNG, so you could be on a hot streak and lose it all and come back to the beginning. There are strategies and suggestions, but even with all the know-how in the world, plenty of players reported spending as much time grinding for this trophy as they did playing the entire rest of the game. This game has hurt enough Die-Hard Judgment fans that it absolutely deserves a spot on this list, and for those of you who got the trophy, well done, just let us know. We'll support you in the comments. That's the end of our list. Be sure to let me know down in that comment box if you can think of any other trophies that were absolutely impossible to get thanks to RNG. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm at Jess McDonald, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more gaming goodness.